Hey guys, how are you today? We're going to be carving a little gnome, and I have a little scrap piece of cottonwood bark that I've already kind of carved up here, trimmed up. And I don't know, bark usually has a lot of bark on it. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. I'm sure some of you have carved it before. If not, this is pretty much for the very beginner. It's a very simple carve. You don't need too many tools. You can get away with one knife. I'm going to be using a flex cut knife today, and I might probably use this flex cut detail knife. So you can use whatever you have. You can get away with one knife, but since I have a couple, I'm going to use them. I may even use this flex cut soft V tool here. Some little more detail work. But to get started, all you need is a knife. So I've already drawn on, kind of made a center line here, and I drew, as you get, this is going to be the brim of his hat here, if you can see all this, brim of his hat here, and it'll come down like this on each side, and a big nose. You can always make it smaller, but you can't make it bigger, so start out with a good sized nose. And a gnome has a big nose. They look kind of cool that way. So what I did is I trimmed it back into a dome shape here. You can see doesn't have to be perfect. We'll get into all that later and put the details in it. And the hat will have a little rim on it like this, and it's going to come up over top of his nose. His nose pretty much is holding it up. There won't be any eyes. They're going to be tucked up underneath his hat. You'll have some bigger cheeks over here, a little mouth, and the rest will be pretty much beard. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with the doing this rim around the hat up to the nose. I'm going to make a little tiny V cut right here, there, and then on the side of the nose, just going to stick the tip of it in there, and you want to go deep there. That's where the eye's going to be. So you want to give it that depth and give it shadow. And then we're going to cut that and pop that out. Just like that. You see? Okay, we'll go to the other side, do the same thing. We'll come up the side of this brim of this hat. Stick that knife right in there deep. Just the tip of it in there. More little V cut. And then we'll slice that out of there. A little deeper on that one. Like so. Okay. Now we're going to come across here with the tip of the knife and score along that line. When we get to the edge, we'll make a rocking cut so we don't slip off and cut our fingers. Okay, if you didn't go deep enough, you can go around. You'll probably go about right now a good 1/8 of an inch or so at least to get started. Then we're going to go like this. We're going to take that, slide the knife up there. Now you can do this with a piece of basswood too. I want you to know that piece of pine, whatever you have, any wood's going to work. I mean, softer woods are a lot easier to carve. So don't be caught up on, you can't do this without cottonwood bark, but you can. So we're going to come out and bring all those up to that. All right. And then we'll go the other side, flip our piece over, do the same thing. Follow that line around. Get to the end, make a rocking cut. A little bit deeper, rocking cut. Then we're going to slice up to that. Okay. Now we got to go around that big nose. Oop, we're getting off camera here. Make sure you stay in camera. Okay. So we're going to go around this nose. Now if you have a V tool, you could use a V tool to make this that first line if you wanted. I do that quite often. Okay. Now we're going to just take out a couple little pieces like this up to the nose. Just just so we know where everything's going to be. Get it all placed, and then we can start working on details. Okay. All right, so it's already starting to look like a little gnome. All right. Okay, now we're going to go up to the rim of the hat. We're going to trace this one out. Okay, so this is starting to center. Well, carefully. You don't want to go as deep as you did on the bottom. I mean, you can get away with an eighth of an inch, I suppose. We'll flip our piece over. Come around. Get to the edge, make that rocking cut. All right. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to take this knife and just chip out that edge. Just very carefully push it down into that line. And this will keep us an idea of what we're trying to do here. It's see how cottonwood bark, sometimes it can happen. See how that big chip come out of there? But no worries, we can clean that up later. Yeah, that's the thing with cottonwood bark. It can chip on you. And then you got to work it. You'll get it. So, that's a basic face of a gnome. All right. Without the mouth, anyway. So, this part of the nose from here all the way up to here is going to be cheek. So we want to kind of draw a cheek, a little round cheek like that. Okay, you want to come on the other side and try to start the same way. Keep it somewhat symmetric, best you can. Sometimes it's hard to get them perfect. Let's see how I did. Not too bad. Is this light good? Let's see. Maybe that's better. Yeah. Too bright. Okay. So now we got our cheeks. Now I'm going to use my little detail knife now. And I'm going to carve these cheeks, but when I put my knife in, I'm going to go at an angle down away from this line, not up into it. I'm going to go just down away from it a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. Right up to the hat. Come around the other side, the same thing. It's going to angle. My knife is going down that way. Sort of like that. Okay. Now, we're going to make a cut under another V cut under his nose here. We're going to go here, right up to that line where we started. We're going to make a deep V cut there, and another one right here. And pop that out like that. And then we're going to make another one on this side, same step, there, another one there. And we're going to pop that one up. Okay. All right. I'm going to clean up around the bottom of that nose. Just go straight down. Like so. And you can't almost go too deep or here. You know, that really makes that nose pop out. So don't worry if you think you went too deep. I guess that's one of the hardest things about carving when you're getting started is you're afraid you're going to take too much wood off and you're going to mess something up. Well, I look at it this way. It's only wood. You know, there's lots of wood out there. So don't get too frightened about that. And a lot of times if you mess up, you can always carve it deeper and clean it up and sacrifice it, or salvage it, not sacrifice it, salvage it. Hey, I'm human. So I'm going under these cheeks now and just carving some of that out to define the cheeks. Just a little bit there, up to that line. Make them pop out. Yeah. And you can check it out, make sure it looks symmetric, and this is okay. This one needs to go a little deeper right here on this side. If you have to, take your knife, run it back around so you get the depth that you need. And you figure this is all going to be beard here, all around here. We'll shape that up. Okay. So he's going to have a mustache too. I'll round this up a little bit. Okay. All right. Now we got the nose to shape up a little bit. Okay, so the nose is going to be sunk back up under the hat. So what we have to do is first score this line very carefully. Don't cut his nose off. Go around, take a little bit at a time. Okay, like that. And gently slice up, because you don't want to knock the rim of your hat off either. So go slow. It's not a race. You can always back this video up if you need to. So just take that. See how that little chip comes out of there so easily? Okay. Now you might not have that problem with the basswood if you're using a piece of basswood or pine or lime wood or linden, whatever it is you're carving. Like I said, the basswood is a little more brittle, I guess is what I would call it. So it tends to want to chip. So I flip this upside down so I can get this piece here without doing any damage. I'm starting to round it down to the cheeks. And we'll define that a little more too. We're just trying to get our basic shape in here right now. Okay, and all this up under here, we can clean that up a little bit, but we'll get it all nicely done a little later. See, it kind of gives that illusion that it's getting up underneath the hat, right? And we want the cheeks to look like that. We want it to look like all the way around like that. So that's how when you create those shadows underneath, gives it the depth, gives it the more realism, I guess. So I'm going to carve this a little bit deeper here while I'm looking at it on each side of this nose. I'm going to make that V cut again, right up under that hat, just like that. And then this one I'm going to go on a little angle up under the hat, stick it in there pretty deep. Let's see how deep I just put it in there. You can see that's how deep I put the tip of that knife in. Okay, then I'm just going to stick the tip of that knife in there and pop that out like so. Same one on this side. You're deep right up into the hat. And this one I'm going to angle up towards the hat. And I'm going to pop that one out. Cut deep far enough there. Come on out. There we go. Okay. Round that up a little bit on each side of the nose. Just little cuts. Okay. Find my little brush. handy to have one of these too, to get all the little fuzzies and little pieces out while you're working, just so you got a good eye on stuff. Alright, so we're starting to look like a little gnome. Okay, now I think I'm going to go around that hat again and make things just a little bit deeper there. I'm going to take my knife, I'm going to stick the tip of it in there quite a ways. Get to that edge, you're going to make that little rocking cut. Be careful, don't cut yourself. Then I'm going to, a little more of an angle, I'm going to go up there. I didn't go far enough. I'm going to go up a little bit farther. Okay. Now I'm going to kind of lay my blade right down on the cheek. And I'm going to take a little bit off. It doesn't take much to create that shadow. See how much comes out of there? Just like so. You can get it out of there. That's where that brush comes in handy again too. So you can see, you can, if it shows here or not with a shadow. Okay. I'm going to do with the other side, do the same thing. I'm going to take that knife, I'm going to put it right up inside there. Carefully score it right up to the face. And I make a rocking cut there. Now I'm going to lay it on the cheek and cut that piece out. Like so. Pop that out of there. Brush. All right. Okay, now I'm going to round this nose down a little bit. Like so. Okay. I don't know if you have any of my other videos you've watched, I've showed you about push cuts with your left thumb if you're right-handed, where you're taking your, you have more control than trying to just push with this hand. If you use your thumb and you kind of lock this thumb onto your piece, or anchor your hand somehow on that piece. Like I use my thumb a lot, or sometimes I'll even use my part of my finger and rest it on there. Depends on how big of a cut I need to make. But when I'm just trying to make little tiny cuts like that, I have more control with my thumb right here on the knife itself. So you can see that. You make the tiniest little shavings. See? And then when you're coming back the other way, I kind of rest my thumb again on my knife, and I use this like a lever. So I got my thumb on here. If it was a longer blade, I may have it on the side of the blade, but you should be wearing a glove so you don't cut yourself. But I just kind of use it like a lever, and you have control that way. It's not like it's loose anywhere. You're almost creating a resistance with this thumb. And you can carve all those little tiny details out. Now see, I'm back to my push cut with my thumb, but I'm using kind of like a lever action again too here. I'm going to cut them pencil lines out. Just shave them out of there. Really easy. Now we'll go back to this side, do the same thing. Yeah, just make her even as you can. Okay. Now let's go back to this cheek. We didn't finish the cheeks rounding them off. Let's go back over here and knock them pencil lines off and bring it in. Turn it around so you can get a good angle to make your cut. And the object obviously is try to make each cheek look very similar to one another. Now mine are off, you know. See, this one looks like it's a little lower. Okay, so I need to take a little piece out of that right there, bring that up into the nose a little more. Here. So the bark kind of chipped a little bit there. I don't know if you can see all this. I mean, I can see it so well here, but I'm not sure if you guys can or not. And when we're all done, you can take a little file or a piece of sandpaper, whatever, and really clean this up. Make it really nice and smooth, especially the bark. The bark sands up like powder. Okay, so I got a high ridge right here. I'm just gonna barely shave that down. Just take a little bit of it off. I'm probably being a little picky right now, but okay. So, yeah, we're basically have a gnome right here. All right. Now we want to think about his mustache. Okay. Now generally a mustache is going to come right out of here. This would be the outside of the mustache. Like that. And you can do it lots of different ways. Remember, we have a center line here. You could, you know, let's say the mouth, you want the mouth about here. Okay. It could be a round mouth. Could be just a slit, which I think I'm just going to put a little slit with a little bit of turn up just for a smile. We'll see how if we can pull that one off. Okay. And then we're going to bring the mustache out of here again. So we want to keep that as symmetrical as possible too. Like so. Okay. And let's see. Let's come down off the corner of this right here. Like that. How's that look? Like a little mustache? Alright. Let me come in a little bit on this one. Alright, now let's go to the outside first. We're going to score this line. We're going to go in, about maybe 1/8 of an inch, like so. Then we're going to come on the outside. And we're going to take a tiny sliver out of that. Like that. Then we're going to round this back to that a little bit. And just take them pencil marks off. Like so. Okay. Let's go to the other side. Do the same thing. You can flip it upside down if it makes it easier for you and come the other direction. You can do that too. If you need to. Then we're going to take a little bit of that off. Like that. And then we're going to round the mustache back. Like so. Okay. And go a little bit more here. There we go. There we go. So a piece broke out there. So no big deal. We'll just thin that mustache down a little bit. You probably won't be having that breakout problem like I'm having with cottonwood bark if that's what you're using. Okay, now we're going to do the inside. So we're going to come up to that line, right in that corner. We're going to push in, and then we're going to do a small V cut right here too. Okay, and just take that tiny piece out. Just like that. Then run this down. Make a rocking cut at the bottom. Then we're going to slice that piece off. Like so. Same thing on this side. Little V cut. Give it that little depth. And then we're going to knock that piece out. So. Bring this one down. See, my stuff is splitting on me. That's cottonwood bark. Oh, that just broke right off. I don't know if that's going to work. I may have to put a drop of glue on it. Well, it'll happen. This is a good lesson right here. I think I can salvage that with a little drop of CA glue. It's like a super glue. I'm just going to open that up a little bit and put a drop or two down there. Try not to glue my fingers to the wood. And I don't know, use my pencil or something just to push that in there like so. Get down inside there. Alright, then I have some, it's called accelerator. If you guys ever use this, this really helps you with your carvings, because it happens, especially in cottonwood bark. You're going to get a lot of things breaking off, and this will work in any wood. What I try to do is, kind of hard holding this little piece and doing this. Put the accelerator on there, just a little squirt. There we go. And that's glues it instantly. Yep, I let it pop back out. I guess it didn't work. Let's see. Oh. Well, I think I can fix that. Anyway, just carve a little deeper, that's all. That'll work. Let me get my glove back on and we'll get back at it. Okay, so back to this stash. Now we gotta carve a little bit out of that there again. Clean that up. Just clean up our mustache. Yeah, like I said, if you're carving basswood, you probably won't have a breakout like this, is what's happened to me with this bark here. But even if you do the basswood, you can, if it breaks on you, or if you accidentally cut something by accident, like I don't know how many times I've whacked a nose off or an ear or something like that, and I have to get the glue out. It's how you learn, you know. It's no big deal. We're all learning. I'm still learning, that's for sure. I'm no pro. But I just try to keep, I'd like to see everybody get involved in wood carving. So now I'm cutting out the mouth. This is going to be a little slit. So I'm just going to right up to it, just a little bit. Come down into it. It don't take much. Take that corner off of that. Just a little bit. I like to, it's like a scoop cut just below the bottom lip. Because if you feel your own face, you know, from your chin up to your lip there, you know, it's sunken in a little bit there. And even when there's a beard on it, you can kind of see that. So I like to take a little bit of that and do like a little, just to give him a little bump there, whereas bottom lip is going to be. I taper it up a little bit, going up to the corners of his mouth. I'm hoping that little detail's showing up in here. You can see. I think this light is maybe too bright here. I don't know. So, just kind of like to do that. You can see how soft that cottonwood bark is, how it carves. Just so nice. I guess there's pros and cons about it because it does break on you at times. Alright, so let's take out these little lines here, just shave them down, get them out of our eyesight. We pretty much got that. This one we glued up. Don't look too bad. And if you end up painting them, you won't even see them after you paint them. Make that just a tiny bit deeper in the corner of his mouth there. Just a little bit. And we're gonna try to shave up that mustache. And I could probably get a lot of that off with this soft V, because this soft V tool that I showed you here, or maybe I didn't show you, but it's got a nice little soft roundness to it that, you know, you have that thing in between your lip and your mustache, or your lip and your nose, right there. That thing. I don't know what it's called. Snot trough, I think a lot of people call it. So I'm looking at our nose, and it's, I need to round it up more. I get this big flat spot over here. Take this one down just a little bit. If you got a bigger piece of wood you can do this with, it might be a little easier for you to use. But this is only, I don't know, 2.5 inches tall, maybe. So if you got, you know, bigger piece of basswood that you're carving, or bigger piece of bark, that's awesome. It'll work for you. Let's put the brush out and see what we got. Okay. So we got us a gnome a little pretty close. So I'm gonna go back to my bigger knife, and I'm gonna do some stuff on this beard. I'm gonna bring these down just a little bit, give them a little more shape, and I'm gonna take it up under the hat a little farther. Like so. And I'll probably even trim this hat down a tiny bit. Come back and shape that a little better. Because we still got work to do up top here. We got to thin this down to fit his head. You know, if that brim of his hat. So we're going to take all that back a little. Oh, my guard's coming off. I wear this extra one on my thumb because sometimes the way I carve with my knife, I end up shaving my glove, and then pretty soon I got a hole in my glove. And I just got this pair, and I want it to last. Now you could turn this into a Santa gnome, you know, if you wanted, and put a tassel on his head. I'm just trying to keep this very simple, just so you get the basic idea of how to carve a simple gnome. Okay. We're going to curve this up a little bit. Take that corner down. kind of cutting all this back so that that fold in the hat, the cuff, I think it's what it's called, the cuff of the hat, kind of sticks out. Just take that sharp edge off like that. That's the back of the bark. Have you ever seen the back of the bark? It's got like a thin layer. It's almost like paper. And when you harvest this stuff, if you do it yourself, like I have, you got to clean up the bark. It's like an all-day job once you get a bunch of it on there. It was my thumb guard again. But anyways, so my brim is thin over here, wider over here, but let's just try to round that down a little bit. Like so, take that off there. We take all those sharp edges off. Now be careful when you're doing this, you don't cut your nose off or your cheek. You can go this route as well. If this is easier for you, it probably would be, especially with basswood. Doing it this way, cut against the grain. If you get a good sharp knife, you should always have a good sharp knife. If you feel your knife is not cutting, dragging a little bit, or leaving any little white lines when you cut across the grain like that, you need to go to the strop and sharpen it right then. Most accidents happen, I think, because of a dull knife. I think people try pushing it so hard because it's not cutting well, and they push it so hard that it slips, and then that's when you get stabbed or sliced. That's still a little wide. Let's take some out of this here. And we can come back down to the hat, or to the cuff. Oh, getting off camera, sorry. So at the beginning when we cut this line, that all could have been done with a V-tool. Normally I probably would do it with a V-tool, but not everybody has a V-tool, especially if you're just starting out. You probably have a knife. Hopefully you have a glove. And I just want to make it simple for the very beginner. Redefining that. We're going to cut back down to it again. There's a couple of painting tutorials that I have on the channel here that you can go back to if you want to paint this. It's pretty much the same principles as painting the other projects, the other basswood that I was working on. These lines that I've cut in here, these are great lines for your paint to stop at. So you're pretty, you can change the color of this cuff on the hat if you wanted it different from the top. Yeah, obviously you want it different from the face. Now with this bark, I usually don't do anything. I usually don't paint the face. If I do anything, I might make some of the nose a little red and the cheeks a little red by using really, really watered down paint. Red paint, just watered down like crazy. I'm just going around and cleaning up areas right now, making sure my definitions are good. This needs to go just a little bit deeper right here. Same with right there. So you just kind of look your carving over and you'll get it figured out. This is by no means perfect, that's for sure, but I think you can tell it's a gnome. So we're going to take this beard down a little bit too. Make his face a little bit more narrow. Under the hat. And we're going to move this out of my way. Tuck this up there some more. Like so. Okay, the other side, same thing. Tuck that up in there and narrow this all down a little bit. Just kind of shaving it up there. So, other than my mustache breaking off, I think I got it pretty much curved out. Let's see. Come on. And that's a little thick there too. Just a little bit. When you're doing your carving, you'll see all these little things, and you want to take just sharp edges down. You know, faces don't have sharp edges. That's the ones I've seen anyway. Clean all that up in there. You can go a little deeper here. Why not? A little more definition. I don't know if you can. So we need to take his nose back a little bit. It's a little flat. Let's take this part back. Back up under the hat. Turn upside down to get those other angles. Kind of the bridge of his nose needs to get up under there. When you're carving the basswood, especially when you're doing these ones, you have to make some clean cuts or you'll start getting this buildup of fuzzies, and it's like a, oh gosh, sometimes it seems like it never ends. You make one cut, then it makes these little slivers, and then the next cut, and it doesn't look so clean. So try to cut deep enough when you cut. Let's get this. So let's look at him now. Let's see. That's pretty close. I could see a couple little things I could take down, like right here. Round that a little bit. Right here. Right here. Like I said, you know, you could take a little piece of sandpaper. I got one around here anywhere. You could take a little piece of sandpaper and knock it down. I don't seem to see one right. Oh, here's a little piece. You could take, you know, and clean that up with some sandpaper. It's not against the rules. I mean, there are some purist carvers that don't believe in putting any sandpaper on their project. You can do this with basswood. You can do this with any kind of wood. Make your cheeks a little more rounder, smoother. Just enhances your carving. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with it. And do the edge of that hat. Take that little edge off a little bit. We'll just see what it looks like. You tell me. That nose needs it. Had a little point on him. He doesn't have a pointy nose gnome. We don't never see him on them. Maybe a little across his lip. Just kind of let you know. So, you could leave it like this and call it a gnome if you wanted to. It looks like I need to take this cheek, this side down a little bit more. Quite a bit more, actually. So you gotta look at it from all different angles. Yeah, it looks a little better. Take a little more off right here. Now what we can do is we could put some, beard hair, mustache hair in here very easily. You could take your knife. You could do small little tiny V cuts. It gives it a little character. You could take like a little chunk out right here, like that. Another one right here, like that. You can do that all the way around the bottom. It kind of gives it some definition. Kind of want them sporadic, I guess. And if you do have a V-tool, a V-tool is real easy to use. Take these like this. Create some whiskers. Like that. Sometimes it's easy to overdo that though when you're using a V-tool. Just throw some in here and there. Throw some in between these in the middle. Yeah, just kind of make it look like see, I'm probably putting too many in now. Now let's do the mustache. I always start at the top of the mustache and I put in a couple there going that direction towards the face or the nose. Like that. And throw in here and here and here. Just little ones. Yeah, if you don't own a view tool, you might want to save up and buy yourself one. They come in handy, as you can see. They'll put a little more fun in your carving. There's nothing wrong with just having a knife, though. I've done lots of carvings with just knife, and been okay with that. So, you know, it gives a little texture in the beard area there. If you wanted his little brim of his hat to look like it was like a fur type, fur-like material or whatever, you can always take this and just do little tiny, like this, just randomly. Put this little texture in there. And especially if you paint it, there's like if I painted, let's say I painted this hat red, this would be white, you know, like a Santa hat kind of thing. And I usually don't use pure white on these type things. I'll use like an antique white or antique parchment, they call it, kind of a dirtier white. And then you can take and do like an antique wash over top of it, but you know, that's a whole another ball game there. I can't remember if I do that in that tutorial or not, on painting tutorial I have, if there's any a couple of these down this side. Just these little tiny excuse me, little tiny facets. Just create that fur look, you know. Even without painting it, it kind of does that. But when it's painted and you do the antiquing, the darkness gets inside these little divots that I'm carving in there, and it just gives it a worn look, like you've been wearing that hat for years and years and years. You can even take this sandpaper and knock down some of the hat if you want. You know, I like to see some facets in there because then it looks like it's a hand-carved piece. So you can go around it like that. I do like to see the cheeks kind of smooth. That really, in the nose, it kind of really makes it look more real, I guess. I don't know. I just like that look. You can do whatever you want with yours. It's yours. I'm just trying to help you get the basic of it. That lip. Make that lip smoother. Maybe take out just a tiny bit under here. Just a tiny bit. These are tiny little details that can help your carving. Or not. Sometimes it might make it look too, I don't know. What do you think? He's got a big old bottom lip. Pouting. Looks like he might be pouting. I'm just going to take to his lip a little bit. And then I'll Take this up to his lip a little bit, clean it up the these little lines. Just put them back in there, like so. You know, you can go and go and go. I'm gonna make this mouth opening just a little bit. Take a little sliver out of there. Be careful. See, it's trying to break on me right there, that little piece of lip. Gotta be careful. This mouth open a little bit gives it a little more action. See what a difference that made. See that? So it's like the sky's the limit when you're putting a detail in. You know, it's like, where do you stop? You know, you got to call it quits at a certain point. Like I see this up here, I don't like. Get that piece out of there. Same with here. Let's go a little bit deeper there. Highly recommend you getting one of these brushes, though. They're cheap. You can find them anywhere. Might be able to, next time you're at your dentist, ask them for one. They probably give you one. Let's clean up the head a little bit more right here. A few marks on it. Well, other than painting this thing, I believe it's done. Like I said, you can go around and you can start, you know, putting every little detail, cleaning every little thing up if you want. That's up to you. Well, I just hope this helped someone. Even help one person, I'm happy about it. I just have fun doing it, and I'd like to see everybody else have fun doing it because it is fun. So, here's a gnome. See ya, folks.